and welcome to another episode of Deciphering Writing Advice. Today, since it's the start of the year and we're talking about starting things, I'm going to be talking about the problem with prologues. Now, you may have heard the advice before that you shouldn't write a prologue to your book. Books with prologues don't sell. Books with prologues don't sell to literary agents. It's a clear sign of self-publishing. It's one of those things that a reader will open a book and see that there's a prologue and just close the book and leave. And none of these things are strictly untrue, but it's really not a clear picture. Like, the advice of you can never ever ever write a prologue isn't as nuanced as we want it to be. So today I'm going to be breaking down what is a prologue, how you can and can't have them, and I'm going to be trying to give some examples of good prologues, basically. Prologues that have been done well. Now, in case you're thinking, this is an interesting new setup, it is a temporary setup, and I really wish it wasn't for this particular video, because it would be really convenient to be able to do the thing where I turn back to my bookshelves behind me that you may have seen in previous videos and whip out a copy of a book and be there like, this one has a great prologue, which I obviously can't do because I don't have a bookshelf behind me, and I did not set up enough in advance that I thought to bring the books down. So, what is a prologue? A prologue is a piece of a novel that comes before the main body of the story. It's usually told from a different character's perspective, in a different way, or is set before the main body of the story actually happens. So, like, I want to quantify them as like an out-of-character prologue and a before-the-story prologue, or like a setup prologue, or like a prophecy or legend prologue. I think those are the three main styles of prologue that I can think of, and the prophecy or legend prologue also works for like a letter that comes before the story starts or something like that. So what is all the drama with prologues? Basically, it is pretty hard to do a prologue right, and most people in the publishing world and in the big readership world don't care for them because it is so hard to do them right. So the likelihood is when they come across a prologue, it's going to have been done less well than they might hope. Which is not to say that you can never ever 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 write a prologue. It's just about doing it well. As with all of these things, you can use the passive voice if you're doing it with intent. You can use said as your dialogue tag for the entirety of your entire novel if that's what you choose to do, but it should always be an active choice. And the second half of the prologue drama is that about 50% of the readership will skip a prologue. I am one of those people. If there is a prologue in a novel, I, 9 times out of 10, won't read it. I'll skip straight to chapter 1. I won't bother with a prologue. Or maybe, if I really, really, really like the book, I'll come back to the prologue after I've finished and use that supplemental knowledge to, like, enjoy it on a different level. But most of the time, I'll skip a prologue. And about 50% of readers will also skip a prologue, which means that everything absolutely necessary to understand the story has to pop up later in the story anyway, because 50% of your readership will skip the prologue, and if they don't enjoy it because they skip the prologue, that's on you, not on them. So, with all of that in mind, how would you do a prologue well then? Considering the fact that anything absolutely necessary must be in the main body of the novel, and considering the fact that about 50% of your readership will skip it, and considering the fact that a lot of literary agents and a lot of customers will look at a prologue and go, nah. Step 1. Ask yourself if the prologue is truly necessary, or if it's just enhancing for you personally as the writer. Then ask other people. If it's not absolutely necessary, take it out. Maybe offer it, like work it up into a short story and offer it as a free piece of marketing to people who sign up to your mailing list, or get the special edition copy, or come see you live in person. You can print out copies. And again, I wish I had my stuff behind me because I'd pick up, like, they're not prologues, but like I've got a printed copy of the Tale of the Moon prints from Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, and I also have a copy of a short story that I wrote specifically for marketing for Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, which you can get if you sign up to my mailing list, but I also have it in physical copies for like giveaways and stuff, which is Kitty Hughes in an Unexpected Meeting. Kitty is Mary's roommate in the novel. Neither of these is absolutely necessary for understanding the story. They're just fun free marketing, and that's what you can do if you've already written a prologue and you really like it but you find out it's not absolutely necessary. That is an option. You can transfer it into something else valuable. Or thing number 2 is to ask yourself if you can put the information elsewhere in the narrative. Can you put it effectively into a flashback? Can you put it effectively into exposition? And it's okay if the answer to those questions is no, if a flashback wouldn't work to do it, if exposition wouldn't work to do it. I know that there are some really, really big books that have prologues in them. In A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, that has a prelude in it. This is the moment where I'd whip out the copy of the book and show it to you if I have my bookshelves, but I don't have my bookshelves behind me right now. And that one is done quite well because it is another flashback prologue. That's the most common kind. And it does pop up quite late on in the book. So the beauty of this one is that if you read the prologue, which I did because I was listening to the audiobook, you get this tension from it. You know, okay, so slight spoiler, but I mean it's in the prelude, so you know that there's something wrong with Mahit's Imago machine. And if you don't read the prologue, no, the prelude, you don't get that information until much, much later. So both of them work. You can handle the story absolutely perfectly either way, whether you want the twist or you want the tension. I will talk about twist versus tension in another video later on, hopefully, but I did sort of vaguely reference it in my plot twist video, so feel free to check that out. But it is that active choice of whether you want the twist or the tension based on whether you read the prelude or not. You either get that tension from the prelude, you already know that something is wrong with it before the story even starts, before you even meet Mahit. Or you don't find out until later in the story and suddenly it's like a plot twist and you go, oh my goodness gracious me, what are we gonna do? And like, it's quite well done because you kind of forget by the time it is revealed in the narrative, you kind of have forgotten the prelude because it's in a different voice and it's easy to just let go of that information. That's a really great example of doing a prologue well. Do I have an example of doing a prologue badly? I don't want to name names because I don't think that's fair. I don't like talking about books I didn't enjoy because I don't think it's fair to the author, and like as an independent author, I'd rather if people didn't like my book, they just go, no, it wasn't for me, unless they have like a really specific problem with it. So I'm not going to do that to somebody else, but there is a book that I have read the first few free chapters of that had a prologue that I read because I was invested in this author, and I really wanted to see how she had written it. So I read the prologue and I found it really dull, and then you get into the main body of the story and the prologue doesn't seem that relevant anymore, and like, okay, yeah, again, I didn't read the whole thing, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe it pops up later and it's really vitally important that you've read the prologue, but honestly, I think that one would have been better as a short story, a separate short story, free marketing material or whatever, special edition, hardcover copy, I don't care, but I think it probably would have been better as a piece that had been separated from the main narrative, so that when you open the book, the first character that you meet is the main character, because, and here is the problem with that particular prologue, it doesn't have any direct relevance to the main character. You're in A Memory Called Empire, once again, it is your first introduction to the idea of the main character. The prologue is all about Mahit, even though she doesn't actually appear in it, because it's all about pre-sabotaging Mahit for a specific purpose that I won't spoil. And that is where this other prologue that I again won't name names of, this fantasy prologue, fell down, this adult fantasy novel prologue fell down, is that it had no direct relevance to the protagonist. It only had direct relevance to the overarching story that is supposed to be contained within the entire series of books, to the MacGuffin style character. It's like if I had decided for Arlan Breaking the Curse to make a prologue that's about how Raquel got cursed, and then we jump into chapter 1 and suddenly it's Mary and and you're like, but wait, what happened to her? Why was she in the prologue? And then you find out, I mean in chapter 1, that Raquel is the person asking Mary for help. And it's like that disconnect is potentially problematic. Now that you've asked yourself whether your prologue is truly necessary, and asked other people whether your prologue is truly necessary, and asked yourself if you can put it elsewhere in the narrative, which you also, again, if it's really, really directly relevant and important, you definitely should. And I've talked about why certain prologues are done well and why certain prologues are done less well. What's the ultimate conclusion here? How do you do a prologue well, other than just making sure it's absolutely necessary? Well, you connect it to your main character and you connect it to your main plot. Those are the two things that make a prologue functional, that make a prologue valuable, and that mean that you probably won't have to ditch it, especially if you're doing something like submitting it to a literary agent. So I hope you found this helpful. I feel like this has come across a little bit chaotic. This is what happens when I take a break. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found value in it. I'm excited to be back making more videos. Hopefully I will be making them every single week. If you want to stick around, there's like and subscribe buttons. Or if you want to find my book, which is an adult fantasy novel with action adventure and heapings of magic and a delightful slow burn heartwarming romance, all of the links to where to find it, me, etc. are in the description box below, including a link to my Ko-fi account if you would like to support the channel. And all of the things that I have referenced in this video are also, apart from the books, are also in the description box below. Bye. Oh wait. Here! Look at this! Okay, if you are on my mailing list, you've probably already met him. But, hello. This is Porthos, like the Musketeer. And he is the newest addition to our family and the reason I am currently filming downstairs. Must you? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Deciphering Writing Advice. I'm your host, Will Salzman, which is an adult fantasy novel that follows, It's an adult fantasy novel. Say bye, Porthos. Bye, Mary Ellen, breaking the curse. It's a good book. How would you know? You can't read.